perfect like me, and they do some less than perfect thing, or they say some less than perfect way of speaking, and I feel offended, or I wonder, like scratching my head saying, how can they do stuff like that? They're supposed to be devotees. You know how it goes. I don't need to elaborate. So what do you do? Bottom line, don't offend them. And, stay equipoised. And, so many other nice teachings are there, what to do and what not to do. But so the lesson here is there's consequences for making offense. So be clear what offense is, what to do, what not to do. And especially when it comes to those very, very dear to Krishna or Lord Ramachandra. However big you may be, pride goeth before the fall. Any discussion? Or any questions, comments? Yes, over here. Could you do the microphone service? Yeah.
So, trying to get some clarity, what I have heard in the growing years and
Could you turn the direction of the speaker because it's a little feedback? Okay, go ahead.
In the growing years in ISKCON,
Yeah,
is that the Lord watches out for his devotee.
yeah,
So the example that is given is of Lord Indra. Even though he was messing up with all the torrential rain with the Vrindavan Vasis who are dear to Krishna, Krishna still forgave him because he had rendered service to him.
yes.
And he corrected him with that, and that's how he protected him. So I'm trying to understand with Dvivida, did Lord Ram make any attempt to correct him from his mindset of pride, just like Krishna corrected Indra? Or was the offense too grave that because he offended Lakshmana, there's no...
Nice question. I don't know any detail of what Ram did to correct him and he was irascible or something like that. I do know that Ram holds Lakshmana very dear to him, and he can be all kinds of forgiving, but offense to Lakshmana, who is his direct, dearmost representative, like Guru is unto Krishna, for example. Not to say that the residents of Vrindavan are not, but what we heard with the, several times in these commentaries, starting with Jiva Goswami's, Lord Ramachandra wanted to teach a lesson. Don't make offense. And so once went to say, it's like giant Vijay falling, that's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, to teach a lesson. Now, could Vishnu have done something to intervene on their behalf and they didn't have to become demons? And, it was all part of a bigger plan without all the details of the bigger plan. So similarly, this was an arrangement by Lord Ramachandra for his eternal Nityasiddha devotees, at least their expansions, to undergo some trouble. And then to be relieved of that trouble by being killed by Balaram. But others were being harmed by what he was doing in this province of Anartha, etc., etc., etc. He was doing bad stuff. So how's that part of Krishna's Leela? That doesn't sound very nice. Or Ram's Leela. So it's just to teach a lesson. So there's an exception, and he did give him reprieve, but your specific question was, during the course of his offense to Lakshmana, were there actions taken by Lord Ram to correct him so he could become forgiven? That was your question. Yes, I didn't forget your question. he did that with Sugriva. Did he do something similar with Lakshmana? Excuse me, with Dvivida? I'm unaware of anything he did. He may have done or may not have done. I don't know. But we do know he wanted to teach a lesson. And sure enough, he taught a lesson. Okay.
This occasion, I have the question like for day-to-day life, like we are like gathering here, and unconsciously, if anybody offend, unconsciously, like is this a offense or like I'm dreaming like we are all devotee, but sometime person get envies. Oh, this is why he is respected, why I am not. Like that kind of things is not in my hand, right? It's automatically thought come. Is this an offense?
No. Prabhupada has explained. I'm going to give a quick answer. Prabhupada had explained mental in this age, mental offense is not. The problem is not punishable or given its consequences. Prabhupada's warning is, however, what's in the mind generally will come out. So it's actions and speech that have consequences. So unintentional, supposing, I'm not sure what you're saying, but supposing unintentionally I say something, do something that's not intended to be disrespect or step on someone's toe or say something inadvertent that hurts them, not without the intention, but somehow they get triggered and feel hurt by something that was said or not said or done or not done or something like that. You want to know, is that an offense? That's your question.
Yes.
Unintentional, no. However, supposing there's not an intention but someone is feeling, the perception is they've disrespected me. Knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally, they've disrespected me or something. They've hurt me. Your question was asked by a devotee of Prabhupada. What do we do in those? What should we do in those circumstances when we unintentionally may have done a whole slew of things that persons feel, or even unknowingly they were offended because of our immaturity and coverings and things? Prabhupada's answer: therefore, we recite this prayer every morning in our temples. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And of course you can just do it mechanically, but if it's not done mechanically, if humility is in the heart and one is reciting that prayer with feeling, with calling to Krishna, please forgive me. Vaishnavas out there who I may have unknowingly offended, please forgive me. And then Krishna is seeing that from the heart, and Krishna, then it's cleansed. Now we don't take advantage of that and wantonly go here and there and kesara asara because I'm saying this nice prayer every morning. But if we're conscientious day by day, but something happens untoward and we don't know, we've all had the experience. I'm sure, because I've asked this question of audiences many times. You go out of your way to do something of kindness to someone, and they read it just the opposite. We've all had that experience. So what do you do? Which is kind of what your question is. What do you do? So if you find out someone feels offended, a good option is you go to that person. And supposing this is from now Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, supposing they say no, or supposing they don't say yes, they just stare at you or something. Then what do? You wait a while and go back again. You wait a while, and if it continues that you're not forgiving the offense, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, then at that point your obligation is over, and you just go on chanting. If there's something that's falling on your head because of that offense that has been made, now more likely in this case knowingly than unknowingly, but you've done what you're to do. Now all of this can happen if there's humility and sincerity in the heart. That's deep inside everyone. We're all devotees to some degree or another, and that state, when one comes to that stage of maturity and sincerity and purity, then the super soul will give the intelligence to understand what to do. The principles are there, bhakti principles are there, but with humility, big one, amanitvam, with humility and pridelessness, then you ask for forgiveness, and more likely they'll say, no, you didn't do anything. I'm the one, the problem person, thinking badly. That's a Vaishnava kind of an exchange. But supposing there isn't a Vaishnava exchange, it's one way and there's no reciprocation. You do it again, and then you move forward. But it's serious business. That's the message I wanted to share this evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, guys. Thank you very much for the nice all the details about this pastime. So my question is also kind of on the same lines. So even though we say if we commit an offense, or knowingly or unknowingly, we should ask forgiveness from that devotee whom we may have offended.
Well, if it's unknowingly, it has to be brought to your attention. Otherwise, how can you do that? But you may hear from somebody that says, taps you on the shoulder and says, Prabhu, I'm your friend. I'm not saying this is so and so over there feels like this. What do you think? It might be a good idea to go to so and so Prabhu over there and you express something. So then once you have that information, then you go. Supposing you don't, no one comes and says so-and-so Prabhu over there is feeling like this. There's people out there who are feeling stuff because just the way that it is in this world. So then what do you do? Is that your question?
That is one part of the question.
Microphone.
That is one part of the question, that we may not have done something, but the other person may have felt something.
We go anyways, because I don't want to be a cause of someone's pain or unhappiness. So I've done it many times. Not saying, Prabhu, I didn't do anything, but go and say, Prabhu, unknowingly I must have done something because I get a sense. Or a little bird sat on my windowsill and told me, tell me who said that? A little bird. But you're feeling something, and I don't want my existence to be a cause of disturbance for other people. So please forgive my existence, because it wasn't something intentional. In fact, I meant to do. I've said this one. This is what my intention was, and they go, really, really. And then it comes to they trust your word. But in any case, you're there to apologize. We could spend, our lifetime doing stuff like that. But so when it comes to your attention, it's a good idea. Within reason and limits, it's a good idea.
Second part of the question is, Even though, let's say, we ask forgiveness or we have that sincere repentance in the heart,
Yeah, good.
so the devotee may have forgiven,
Yeah.
but sometimes it is seen from some of the leelas that Lord does not forgive, even though the other person did not take the offense, but still Lord has put it into your account and you are accountable for that. So we see in the pastime of Sita offended Lakshmana
We're
by
going to
speaking
discuss
the
it.
harsh
We're going to
words.
discuss it Sunday night, tomorrow night at the Detroit Temple. So then,
and then even Lakshmana had the offense and he had to face some of the consequences.
Yeah.
So then, what is our hope? Basically, that is the question, right? So
no, these are pastimes to teach us. No, Sita is not going to do anything other than what Ram wants. That's Sita. Lakshmana is not going to do anything other than what Ram wants. He doesn't lose it and then say, "Gee, I'm sorry." It's not like that. It's Leela to teach us. Doesn't matter who you are. Don't offend. That's the lesson. Don't be proud. Don't think I'm above it all. I can mess up every now and then because I'm something. But it's to teach us. Exactly like this giant bija, it's exactly like this comparison of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's the Lord's arrangement to teach us. So you can go to that other negative thing and say, "Oh, what's the hope for us?" It's a lesson for us. Don't be proud. Remain always humble. And humble doesn't mean you just quiver and tremble. It means I'm very small. Let me remain in that mood of feeling very small, seeking the Lord's protection. And that if that mood is there, you're protected. And you leave that mood and you're vulnerable. That pride goeth before the fall. So you'll be protected. Just stay in the proper mood.
One more question.
Okay, good.
So the another one is again maybe towards the healthy fear sort of thing.
Okay.
So from the pastime of the dog who comes in the assembly of Lord Ramachandra.
Yeah.
And he asks that Brahmana to be kind of awarded in one sense.
Yeah.
So rather than punished, he was awarded to become the leader of that matha. Or
yeah, the chief priest of a monastery.
Monasteries. So the question is, sometime it may happen that something we may gain in this world, it may be a punishment in the disguise of something coming in our life as some honor, some big position or something, but it may be really a punishment in the disguise.
Yes.
So that thought come in our life also, that I'm getting this thing or I'm getting little honor. Is this maybe Lord's punishment to me?
No, it's not exactly the punishment. The understanding of the punishment in the case of the dog, awarding the priest that smashed and beat him up badly, was this man now has the opportunity to properly or improperly utilize. So receiving isn't necessarily a punishment. It's the consciousness behind the receiving that's the punishment. And if one has improper consciousness and one receives, then the reward will be misused that brings suffering or destruction. So if something comes for any of us, because we shouldn't be fearful, we should be very cautious. And very cautious means beware of what? Not the thing, but beware of pride or the enjoying spirit, Maya. Prabhupada received so much, yet he lived so frugally and humbly and who can say how much humility he had? At the same time, more and more and more wealth and fame and celebrity. Yet at the same time, he wasn't in denial. And I remember very clearly. It happened in Los Angeles, and then it happened again in Australia. Some reporter said, "Swamiji, I saw them pick you up in the airport in a Rolls Royce." And Prabhupada's immediate response was, it wasn't good enough. It should have been a gold car. You know, he's teaching a lesson. He's not wanting to be the enjoyer of a gold car or a Rolls Royce. He would speak strongly against, people that are attached to such things, again and again and again and again. But he spoke it to someone who's attached to those things. And so to understand, we don't say no. It's just not meant for me. It goes to Krishna. So on both sides, the challenges of opposition or obstacles, and on the other side, the reward or the wealth or the position or the title or the recognition, fame, it corrupts those whose hearts are not pure. So we shouldn't be afraid of something, but we also need to be afraid of our own tendencies to be the enjoyer of those somethings. Or fearful if something challenging our situation comes our way. I want to share something. Can I share something? It's personal. I just this past week is year 19 and a half of a court case that I've been involved with a group of people that tried to usurp the 1966 corporation that Srila Prabhupada formed, ISKCON Inc. And what's at stake, without going into it, was the loss or the gain is great, without going into it. Besides just, this is Prabhupada's property. And they just told them, got to do something. Can't just. So the first witness to speak was Hridayananda Maharaj, because he wasn't one of the original, but in 1974 he became a GBC. So he was the first witness. We're sitting there. Any of you that know him, he's very funny, and he's very intelligent, and he's also very deep and profound. So just before he went in to take the stand, he leaned over to me and said, any success is in the hands of Krishna. We're all very small. He said it like 10 times. We're very tiny. We're very, very tiny. And as much as I think that my intelligence can win the day sitting there in the courtroom or doing anything, of course, anyone that's been around, this is paraphrasing what he said, anyone that's been around for a while knows this to be a fact. We're very tiny, and false ego and pride, and thinking I have this endowment and I can use it. So thinking in those ways, that's contamination. So he was fixing his mind in the mood of just being the servant, and the outcome is up to Krishna. So let me be the tiny, insignificant little speck that's his servant. And to remain in that consciousness, then we're at least the receiver is on, and the mercy of Krishna can come. And if we're not thinking like that, then it's it's a mix at best, or it goes worse when it's just proud. So when it goes on this side or that side, good fortune, ill fortune. So your question is, the good fortune comes. It's not punishment. It's an opportunity to use something. And if you're on the platform like Prabhupada was on the platform, nothing happens, And the completely opposite. Everything happens. It's the same because there's only one thing. It's the mood of a tiny speck trying to serve the Supreme Great and staying fixed in that consciousness. There's another Prabhupada story that's just on that topic, and I think I'm going to end because it's 8:45. Someone told me this story recently. I really like it. A part of Srila Prabhupada's life in Manhattan, before he had that little apartment in the storefront at 26 2nd Avenue, he had enough money that he could have a studio apartment. And those of you that have know what a studio is, not just an apartment, but a studio apartment. A studio apartment in Manhattan is like a matchbox. But he had a kitchen, and it had a place where he could sit with him, whatever, a handful of people in the sitting room, and he would conduct classes 3 nights of the week. So one evening, he invited some people, he prepared prasadam, and guess what? Nobody came. This is on the other side. So nobody came, so what did Prabhupada do? He sat and gave class to a tape recorder. Now, the story is Prabhupada at that time had what was known as a reel-to-reel tape recorder. Reel-to-reel means like very old-fashioned, literally like this. One feed through, and you make a recording, and it goes to the other side. You got a recording. So he recorded a Bhagavad Gita class. Later, that recording was found, and that recording was transcribed, and that recording became the transcribed became the introduction to Bhagavad Gita that's printed by millions of copies. Who knows how many millions of copies all over the world? Prabhupada's introduction to Bhagavad Gita was done in those circumstances. His mind was not moved this way, that way. His mind was fixed because his bhakti was fixed, because his purpose and mission in life was fixed. So when that's fixed, then you don't have to worry. You don't have to be fearful of something, a windfall. You don't have to be discouraged when there isn't results. You have faith in the instructions and the mission, and with Ramayana, it's Hanuman. He searched and searched and searched and searched and couldn't find Sita. Sat on the wall, what to do. I can't go back. Tell Ram I couldn't find her. I can't do that. What do I do? So, and then success. The idea, it doesn't move. That's samadhi. That's Shuddha Bhakti. Now, with Shuddha Bhakti, samadhi doesn't mean you just sit in a room and you're in samadhi. It means your mind doesn't move. When you're doing various things, and various things cause agitation to the mind, if you haven't noticed. So, when the mind doesn't get agitated, even when there's cause of agitation, that's dhira. And we're trying to get to that stage. And just hearing, as we're going to get, hearing from the scripture this evening and tomorrow, there's 2 programs, just hearing about Ramchandra and his devotees. It's purifying. It helps us come to that stage where the mind doesn't, it's so relishable and eager to learn, eager to understand, and eager to appreciate, and coming closer and closer to the stage of our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's the purpose of all this hearing. Purification, and gradually just staying focused, unflinching devotion. Okay, that's it for this evening. Thank you all for coming. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.